That night, Elizabeth dreamed again. This time, the spirits came to her not as cryptic symbols or distant voices, but as radiant forms of light, each one representing an element of the natural world. The tallest, wrapped in a cloak of green and brown, spoke with the authority of the earth itself. "You have taken the first step," the spirit said, its voice resonating like a drumbeat through her chest. "But the battle is far from over. The shadow that lingered in Pastor Joshua's heart is part of something greater. Others like him have twisted the faith of your people for their gain. They are threads of a larger web that must be unraveled." Elizabeth awoke with a start, the vision seared into her mind. The air felt charged, as if the spirits themselves lingered in the room. She knew her role was only beginning. As the shrine became a gathering point for the villagers, rumors began to circulate of strange happenings in neighboring communities. A preacher in Okoro village had vanished after a fire consumed his church overnight. In Abacha, a woman claimed to have seen a glowing serpent slithering into the river at dusk, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. Elizabeth listened carefully to these accounts, piecing together the connections. The spirit's warning was clear. The corruption wasn't confined to her village. The influence of false leaders, masquerading as men of God, was spreading. "I must go," Elizabeth announced one evening, standing before the shrine. The villagers looked at her with concern. "Go where?" Mama Ifeoma asked, her brows furrowed. "To the villages that need the truth," Elizabeth replied. "The spirits have shown me the path. If we do nothing, the shadow will consume more lives. We cannot allow that." Elizabeth set out at dawn, carrying only a small bundle of provisions and a staff carved from Iroko wood. Mama Ifeoma gave her a talisman, a small figure carved from clay, said to protect against malevolent forces. Ngozi, the village weaver, insisted on accompanying her. "You'll need someone to help spread the message," she said with a firm nod. Their journey was arduous. The sun bore down on them during the day, and the nights were cold and filled with the sounds of the wild. Yet Elizabeth and Ngozi pressed on, their determination fueled by the urgency of their mission. Their first stop was Okoro village, where the burned remnants of the church stood as a grim reminder of the chaos that had unfolded. The villagers greeted Elizabeth and Ngozi with suspicion, their fear palpable. "The preacher is gone," an elder named Uchenna said. "He left nothing but ash and whispers of curses." Elizabeth stepped forward, her voice steady. "He did not leave curses. He left lies, and those lies have been burned away. But you must not let fear control you. The spirits of this land can guide you back to the truth." With Uchenna's help, Elizabeth led the villagers in a cleansing ritual by the river, invoking the spirits of water and fire to purify the land. As they prayed, the river seemed to glow faintly, a sign of the spirit's presence. The villagers began to rebuild, not a church but a communal gathering place where they could share stories, wisdom, and prayers to the Creator and the spirits. As they journeyed to the next village, Elizabeth and Ngozi encountered a fisherman by the river. He was pale and trembling, his net empty. "The river has changed," he said. "The fish are gone, and the waters feel angry." Elizabeth knelt by the riverbank, placing her hand in the cool water. She closed her eyes, feeling the current against her palm. A vision flashed before her, a dark figure standing at the river's source, chanting in an unfamiliar language. "The river spirit is being bound," she said, her voice grim. "Someone is trying to control its power." In Abacha village, they found a congregation gathered around a preacher. He was younger than Pastor Joshua, but carried the same air of false piety. His voice boomed as he declared himself the chosen vessel of God, promising wealth and blessings in exchange for offerings. Elizabeth pushed through the crowd, her staff in hand. "Enough lies!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the preacher's sermon. The crowd turned, murmuring in confusion and anger. "Who are you to challenge the man of God?" The preacher sneered, his eyes narrowing. "I am a servant of the spirits," Elizabeth replied, "and they have shown me your true face." As she spoke, the talisman around her neck began to glow. The preacher stepped back, his confident facade cracking. "The spirits do not tolerate deceit," Elizabeth said, raising her staff. "You have used their name to enrich yourself, but your time is over." The ground beneath the preacher trembled, and a gust of wind swept through the crowd. The talisman flared with light, and the preacher screamed as his form wavered, revealing a shadowy figure writhing within him. The crowd gasped as the preacher collapsed, unconscious. Elizabeth turned to them, her voice firm. "You have been deceived, but you are not lost. Reclaim your faith, not in men, but in the spirits and the Creator who watches over all." Word of Elizabeth's actions spread quickly. Villagers from across the region came to hear her speak, seeking guidance and truth. The shrine she had helped build became a symbol of hope and resistance against the corruption that had plagued their land. Elizabeth knew her journey was far from over. Each village she visited brought new challenges, but it also brought new allies and renewed faith. Together, they began to rebuild a network of shrines, places where people could connect with the spirits and honor the land. One night, as Elizabeth rested under the stars, she was visited by a shadowy figure in her dreams. It spoke in a voice that chilled her to the bone. "You think you can undo what has been built over centuries," it hissed. "You are but one woman, and the darkness is vast." Elizabeth stood tall, even in the face of the figure's menacing presence. "The truth is stronger than your lies. The light will always outshine the dark." The figure lunged at her, but Elizabeth awoke before it could reach her. The spirit's light surrounded her, a reminder that she was never alone in her fight. Back in her village, Elizabeth returned to find the shrine thriving. The villagers had taken her teachings to heart, their faith rooted in honesty and respect. Mama Ifeoma greeted her with open arms, her face glowing with pride. "You've done more than we ever imagined," she said. Elizabeth smiled. "We've only just begun." As the sun set, the villagers gathered around the shrine, their voices rising in song. Elizabeth stood among them, her heart filled with hope. The battle was far from over, but she knew they were ready to face whatever came next, together. If this story captivated you, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family. They need to hear this truth too. The power of faith is immense, but we must remember that not all who claim to wield it are truly worthy. We're all on this journey together, and it's crucial to keep learning and growing. And if you want more incredible African folktales and supernatural stories like this, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next, and be sure to turn on the notification bell so you're always in the know. If you're hungry for more, check out our other videos